Hello, let's take another Hellenistic challenge. The question this week is what is in the chart of actor Kevin Bacon using just the 7 traditional planets that tells us that he could be the victim of a swindle. He was on the podcast Smartless this past week talking about what it was like to have lost all of his life savings and his wife's life savings through a Ponzi scheme with Bernie Madoff a number of years ago. So we see first off that Kevin is a Cancer, trusting Cancerian sun who thinks because he's coming from a good place, everyone is too. But notice that is in square to his Mars in Aries. And so this Mars in Aries has the strongest essential dignity in his chart. It's in the superior position to the sun. And so Mars in Aries could represent someone who's acting very aggressively in his own self-interest, threatening the security of Kevin Bacon and his family. And if we see what else is happening to that Mars, notice it's in opposition to Jupiter in the Venus-ruled sign of Libra. So this is kind of on this side, we've got, somebody who's acting very aggressively in his own self-interest. On the other side, we've got somebody who's almost kind of like a Santa Claus, promising untold riches if you just invest with him. And so this then becomes a T-square in Kevin Bacon's chart, with both the illusions of great wealth, the bad actor creating tension and threatening the security of Kevin Bacon and his family. And also notice the moon in Aries. Because we do not have a time chart, the moon can be anywhere from 6 degrees to 18 degrees of Aries. So again, we've got Mars, the ruler of this moon, again, taking charge of something that would involve Kevin Bacon's security. And then finally, when we're looking at money in a chart, we would look in a Hellenistic chart at the planet Venus, which is an immutable sign, which would indicate this is somebody who has fluctuating income, which would certainly be the case of an actor. But what is happening to that Mercury, or that Venus? Notice it's opposite Saturn. And so this is Venus kind of creating and just playing away and making money, and not really thinking too much about the long term, and says, okay, I'm going to trust someone older and wiser to handle this and make all the good decisions for me. But notice again, this Saturn is in opposition. It's not in supportive aspect to that Venus. So this Saturn has its own agenda. And again, in Sagittarius, ruled by this illusory kind of Santa Claus type of Jupiter. So all of these things came together to create a profile of somebody who could be swindled by someone who had very bad intentions. But notice in the chart that this Saturn is in trine to Mars. And it's interesting, when Kevin Bacon talked about the experience in retrospect, he said, it was a life lesson. We learned that if something seems to be too good to be true, it is. It taught him to be a lot more responsible about his financial decisions. And also he said, my wife and I just looked at each other and we said, this sucks. But then we just realized we have to be grateful for what we have, that we can still work, we can still earn. And, the bad feelings and that sense of just really pain really went into compassion towards those who truly had lost everything and didn't have the capacity to recoup like he and his wife did. So that just tells us that while Saturn can sometimes create very difficult decisions in the short term, in the long term, Saturn does become a teacher. So thank you very much for taking this Hellenistic challenge with me. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you. Bye.